Hey guys, what's up? Eddie Aho here with KissAnalog.com. Today I just want to do another rant on Fluke. Take another shot at them. I did a rant a couple weeks ago or so about Fluke, about the cost of Flukes. Are they too expensive? Which I think they are. Anyway, today what I want to do is talk about Multimeter leads. The leads that Fluke sends with their meters. You pay, I think, a premium price for their meters, and I think you should get a better lead set. And I want to see if you guys agree with me. So let's now the one thing I want to say is I've bought a bunch of different Fluke meters over the years, and more recently some of the Flukes I've bought, their leads just seem cheaper. I want to show you what I mean. So here's a pair of Fluke leads. I mean, first of all, they're PVC, so you can see how non-flexible they are. But these aren't awful, I didn't think. And I'll tell you what, I've worked in a lot of different labs around the country, US, and I've worked in a lot of different companies, from military to commercial, and Fluke meters are what you find, and I've always been great with them. I've always thought a lot about Fluke. Since the early days, way back when they kind of replaced the Simpson meter, that I have down here. Anyway, I never really thought much about it and the cost of them until recently. I started this YouTube channel, and I was trying to compare some Flukes with some other meters that I thought were interesting, and then I realized how expensive Flukes have gotten, and they've kind of got that Sony Walkman name. Back in the day, if you're as old as I am, had those little portable radios that you walk around with, the cassette deck. Yeah, cassette deck. And they called them Sony Walkmans. So it didn't matter if you had a Toshiba, Pioneer, whatever brand. Everybody kind of referred to them as Walkmans, because Sony coined the term and it just kind of held. Well, Fluke, they kind of have that same kind of aura about their meters. The yellow meter, protective case, which, by the way, I still like some of these older ones with the rubber boot and the better kickstands. Yeah, they just have this aura about them, kind of like the Sony Walkman. Everybody just referred to them. Well, tape decks went out of style, so Sony kind of lost that, grab on that market. Because people would say, oh, go get me a Sony Walkman, or I want a Walkman for... They didn't really care what brand, maybe. In this case, we're talking about Fluke. People will say, hey, go get me a Fluke. It's almost the same thing. Like a multimeter is called a Fluke. Kind of, that's what I'm kind of saying. Anyway, so these right here, I think, are what they call the TL75s. I say I think because these are an older version. They have the Fluke marking on them, but they don't have the TL75 marked on them. They're kind of a rubberized grip here, and if you've had a Fluke, you know what I'm talking about. They're yay long. There's very little tension relief or strain relief on the leads. Very little. There's some, but what I've heard, especially on this end, is from electricians who often will take their leads and wrap around their meter and put them in their case, so they're doing it all the time, where if you're working at a bench, you don't really do that a lot. But this right here, you see how little tension relief there is there. So what I understand is when they do that, right here is where these things break down. Some electricians have told me they replace their leads 2-3 times a year, at least once a year, from electricians who don't even use their meters a lot. So yeah, I could kind of see that being an issue, because as I pulled some of these out of the bag, well, you kind of see how that doesn't straighten itself up. It's kind of keeping that shape, and I don't even really wrap them that way. So I just kind of do this and stick them in a bag, which, that's another thing. These Fluke vinyl bags it's a bag, but man, for how expensive they are, it's crazy. So on the other hand, what I want to say is Fluke and Amprobe bags, I like this material better. I like the way they open up. I just think it's a better bag. I mean, it's a bag, but the thing is, you get this for free. You don't have to buy this one. it came with this Amprobe AM570, and it also comes with the thermocouple, and it comes with a better set of leads. Maybe not a way better set of leads. Oh, and it also comes with this Velcro strap. Okay, I'm kind of getting sidetracked, but I am kind of talking about Fluke and how cheap they've been. So, all right, so I've got this Fluke 117, which started the rant because I wanted to get a meter that I could compare to this Testo. I've never had a Testo before, which again brings up another reason I had the rant, was because where is the innovation Fluke meters? The Fluke 70 series, like that 79 back here, that was the top of the 70 series back in the day. And I think the 79 was the first one, the 70 series, to come out with true RMS. Now I think they all have it. Innovation. That's not innovation. Even these $20, $30 meters I have true RMS. So the Fluke 70 series and 80 series, they haven't really changed that much over 30 years. Now, and maybe I'm being cynical at this point, but Fluke warranty on some of their more expensive meters, not like on this guy, I think this is a 3-year warranty, but on some of their meters, people think, oh, they're, Fluke's got lifetime warranties. Well, they do on a couple of their meters. And what lifetime means is when they upgrade that meter, change they have a small incremental upgrade, and they they go from Fluke 79.2 to Fluke 79.3. Well, that starts your warranty, the end of your warranty. So they'll warranty your meter for 7 years after they've changed out model number, up to a maximum of, I think, 10 years, something like that. So it's not really a lifetime warranty. It's a marketing gimmick. So, yeah. Anyway, there's other meters, which I think Amprobe, by the way, owned by, well, I don't want to say they're owned by Fluke. Fluke and Amprobe are both owned by, they were both owned by the Danaher Corporation, and then Danaher Corporation spun off Fortive back in 2000, geez, I don't even remember, 2006 or something like that. And that was right around the time they bought Tektronix. So they bought Tektronix. So yes, Tektronix, Fluke, Amprobe are all owned by Danaher Corporation, or they were. And then Danaher, huge company, obviously, and they wanted to spin off the test measurement portions of the company, and they called that Fortive, and it got its own stock numbers and all that stuff. But so that's kind of where they all come from. So the Amprobe, they're also certified safety, just like the Flukes are. I've opened up the Amprobe over there. It looks built just as good, if not better, than the Flukes I've opened up. This Testo is awesome as well. And getting back to innovation, there's no knob on this. I didn't think I'd ever like these automatic meters, I guess because I'm also been a Fluke guy for so many years. I'm used to the dial. But you know what? I've been using this on the bench for the last couple weeks since I bought it, and I really like it. It works great. And when it does that, I just push it to manually go. Let's say if I'm going from on this middle button where it's continuity, ohms, diode, or capacitance, it'll usually find what I'm looking for. And if I'm doing in-circuit testing where there's parallel elements like a capacitor in parallel with the diode or resistor, sometimes then it doesn't fall on the right thing. Then I come over and just hit the manual and select diode if that's what I'm looking for. But anyway, it works great. Big display, backlit, much nicer than the Fluke. Anyway, I did a review comparing these two. So, yeah, sorry, kind of getting away from my rant here. So, or the point of my rant. So these leads that came with the Testo, silicon leads, you can see how flexible, wiry and rubbery, and just really nice leads. Lots of strain relief on these guys. You can see those long, soft rubber things. They kind of bend down. And then also the same with on the leads. You see how soft that handle is? A lot like a Probe Master. As a matter of fact, I like these every bit as much as I like my Probe Masters. I actually kind of like them a little bit more. The Probe Masters are really soft in the pencil, which I've always kind of liked. But this is kind of in between the stiff and the softness, which I actually kind of like this better. Plus, if it's a slight hourglass shape, and it just feels good. It's got a nice long, anyway, that's a nice lead. And reason for this rant, for me starting this rant, is after my last video some things came up, and one of the things is I've been playing with this Fluke 117 too. Simple display, it's a Fluke. Okay, and so then these leads I've been playing with on this, they actually belong to my FLIR over there. Yes, they're also silicone, real nice leads, good strain relief on them, and they're a little bit firmer style handle, and they have gold tips. So anyway, that's the FLIR. So I was going to take them off and put the Fluke leads on because I just opened up the package. The package was still here, and I thought, well, I'm going to put everything away and put the Fluke leads on the meter. And then I grabbed them, and they've been sitting here for the last couple weeks. Look at this. Look at that. Look how stiff they are. And I thought, wow, these are the TL75s. They're not that stiff. And you just feel them, and then you try to straighten them out, and look, I mean, they are stiff. So even trying to straighten them out, they're just stiff leads. Now it is kind of cool in my, you know, it's actually kind of cold here in my lab, but I mean, not that cold. You can see from these other TL75s, they're not, and I thought, well, is it because they're older and they're just, do they become more pliable? But man, look at that. That is crazy. So I was looking at them, and they're a slight color difference. You know, one's brighter red than the other, but also the lead. There is a slight difference in the diameter of the lead. And this, the new ones are just a little thicker. I'm wondering if that's just thicker PVC, because it sure doesn't feel like this. Now, the other thing I'm not sure about is, I don't know, I think at some point they changed from this material that's called PVC to santoprene. And santoprene is something that's supposed to, I thought it was supposed to be something like in between silicon. It's high, okay, it has a higher temperature characteristic than the PVC. Not as good as silicone, but so I kind of assumed it was going to be, had to fill somewhere in between PVC and silicone, but maybe not. Maybe this is santoprene. If it is, this sucks. Yeah, I don't like that santoprene material. They need to go back to PVC. Or, for hell's sakes, what I'm trying to say, they should be giving us nice silicone leads. I mean, you know, FLIR, Testo, other people can do it. Why can't they? So now we're getting to the real reason for my rant, is I went out and bought a couple leads. I bought them from this company called Pomona. Alright, now the reason I bought two is because one of them, they just look different. This little guy was 30 bucks about. This guy is $21. If you buy the TL75s on Amazon, they're about 21 bucks. So, but these guys are, here, let's open these guys up. So here's the deal. Here's why my rant. Pomona is also owned by the same company as Fluke and Amprobe and Tektronix. It's part of the Fortive group, and it was part of Danaher before that. So why isn't Pomona making the leads? Look at this, silicone. On Amazon, if you can buy these for 21 bucks, and you can buy the TL75s for 21 bucks, which I'm sure that Pomona is making those leads for Fluke, or at least, well, who knows, maybe they're making them in some Chinese plant, because those guys are not any better than any of the cheap Chinese leads I have around here. If anything, they're worse. They're stiffer, and yeah, here, let me just show you. Before I show you these Pomona leads, it just bugs me that, okay, so let me go back a little bit more. Working in labs, when I needed a BNC cable or an off-brand multimeter, you know, say a scope probe that was an off-brand, often I'd see Pomona on the name. I thought, man, Pomona makes good stuff. So BNC to alligators, BNC to BNC. I've always looked for those when I'm working in the lab. The Pomona is kind of like the ProMaster of BNC cables. I kind of looked at it that way. And so I always liked Pomona. Then I got this Tektronix scope, which I don't know if you can see in the frame here. And it came with these scope probes and these BNC cables and multimeter leads. And I swear they're all made by Pomona. And I thought, man, Tektronix and Pomona have to have some relationship. Well, I never looked into it. It turns out they were both owned by Danaher. So that made sense. And I guess what I'm saying is, if Pomona is making their leads and for the same cost on Amazon, why are we not getting good Pomona silicon leads with these what I call overpriced Fluke meters? Now look, here's the so-called cheap Chinese meters. Wow, look at those. They just unravel. And look, you can see them. They're already straightening out. I just pulled these out of one of these multimeters that I've got here. They're like not even branded. They're what we call the cheap Chinese leads, ones you kind of, you know, I mean, they're, you know, guys, I've never been a lead snob, I don't think, until recently. And I still don't think I am, although, you know, with all the talk about ProMaster, which I've always liked ProMaster, I started finding all these other companies that make nice silicon multimeter leads. So that's what you call cheap Chinese one. And look at the Fluke. They don't even want to straighten out. Look at that. And if I pull on them, I mean, you'd have to feel them to see what I'm talking about. But look how stiff they are. That is garbage. Now, that came with the Fluke 117 in this Fluke 117 box. Okay. Now the thing is, and here's another thing they give away. Those little caps right there that are kind of new for the Fluke line, new to me anyway, because they used to have the different kind. These little caps, that's what you find on the Pomona stuff. This Fluke 117 is $220 standard price. It's on sale for like $180. This guy is 20 bucks less, and you're going to get silicon leads. Plus, if you look at the review, I think a better meter. It just kills me. Now, the amp probe is even a little bit cheaper than the Testo, like I think another 10 bucks cheaper. That meter right there might be the one, if I was going to say pick one of the three, I might say go with the amp probe AM570. That's a nice lead. Okay, now let's get back to the Pomona leads. Let me show you them. Silicone, right? Now the pencils on them, they're a little bit like the Testos, a little bit of that hourglass shape, but they're kind of fat. So, you know what? I'm not even sure I love those, but they are definitely better than the TL75s. I mean, they're silicone leads. Now let me show you the, here, I got to pull off these little silicone. That feels like silicone. Hey, you got some silicone with your leads. What do you know? No, I mean, I'm just, okay. Anyway, just kind of razzing you. But if you can see the points on these guys, they're just like stakes. You don't have that little, you know, usually on the top of the tips on any kind of probe tip, you have that little notch where the little add-on tip things that you can push on, kind of clip onto them. Well, the Testo also has a thread, so you can thread them on. So you can either do the kind of clip-on or the threaded. On the Pomona, it is kind of a rubberized handle. It has, I mean, that's a nice feel. It does have a little bit more strain relief than the Flukes, a little bit, not much. It's actually pretty close to the same. See the little dimples in the mold to kind of give that, to help it move, I think. But I'm surprised at the tip. It looks like just a piece of nickel steak. There's no shape to it. It's got a sharp tip on it. Other than that, yeah, I was kind of disappointed in that. I was hoping to really like these Pomona leads. Not near as nice as these Teslas. These are some of the nicer ones I've had. The other end of them, look at that. There's really no strain relief. Look how stiff. It has that shape like it's going to give you some strain relief, but that is super stiff, guys. That is not moving much. So I'm a little bit disappointed with Pomona as well. Well, plus they're probably making the TL75s. But I'm going to just say that this is still a much better lead than the TL75. Not what you normally used to, same with the Fluke with the tips and that, but still, I think a better lead. Okay, so like I said, I bought 2 of the Pomonas because I wanted to see what the difference was. Now, one thing I was really surprised when I got these, because looking through the plastic window here, I could see the size, the scale of these things. Look how teeny they are. And okay, so the gauge of the wire is smaller too. And instead of 18 gauge in a normal test lead, it's 20 gauge. Well, actually, it's rated 3 amps on the side. Okay, I respect that because, yeah, 10 amps, they'd probably get a little warm. So 3 amps, okay, I'll buy that. Which, you know, I don't usually use my test leads with the tips on them to put current through them. I use banana to banana. You can get, you know, those kind of things a lot cheaper. But anyway, let's go back to looking at the pencil of these. Let's take off the tip. Now, see that little gold? Here, I'll take them off, both of them. See that? That's a little gold tip there. Right here at the base, it's silver. And they're kind of a rubberized fill, same as the other Flukes, you know, that you're used to filling. They fill that way along here. But now the thing with those gold tips is, watch this when I push it in. It's a spring. Now, I've used these on ProMasters as springs. I'm actually not a huge fan of it because sometimes I need to punch through the oxidation, or I need to punch through, and now they are very sharp, but you know, I need to punch through conformal coating on the board, and sometimes there's too much give on them. You can't quite, you know, make a good connection, I feel. But I think what these are meant for, you're doing surface mount boards with fine pitch electronics. These would be great for that, I think. You know, as long as you don't have conformal coating and they're fairly new boards without oxidation. But yeah, the other side of them, again, this rubber right here is stiff. I mean, you can see, look, you probably can't tell how hard I'm pushing. See my finger turning white pushing against it, but that is stiff. So this guy here is silicone, very flexible. To get tension relief, not mechanical engineer, but what I would say is the strength of this wire has to be close to the strength of, or stronger than your strain relief. So when it pulls, that the strain relief is taking the tension, not the wire. That would be my logical thought. But these, again, are not made that way. And guys, these are 30 bucks. You know, 31 bucks or something. So I would not buy these either. I was hoping to like one of these Pomonas. I was hoping to like them both. I've always liked, so Pomona BNC cables, I'm sure they're still making them just as good as they always have. But you know what? Test leads, I can see why Fluke test leads suck, because they're probably getting them from their Pomona brothers, and they just don't do test leads very well. Still, like I say, the leads that they actually send with the meter are horrible. This should be outrageous, guys. We should not, I mean, if it didn't have the Fluke name on the box, like right now you're thinking, a lot of you guys are defending Fluke. If that did not have Fluke on the box, you'd be going, yep, typical cheap Chinese junk, you know, something like that. But now, just to kind of emphasize something, my last rant with Fluke wasn't about the quality of the meter. It was about the cost of the meter and the lack of innovation, you know. I mean, for the cost, why aren't we getting more innovation? Why are the meters incrementally improved? Why in the meter series are there 3 or 4 models, and the cost of the lowest model should actually have all the features of the most expensive one? I mean, the Fluke 87, I think, is the most overpriced meter on the market. This FLIR right here, I think far superior meter. And this guy here, you know, it's half the price of the Fluke. And you know what, FLIR, awesome name, also third-party tested. This is a great meter. Oh, and it comes with the magnetic thing on it. They're not trying to rip you off another 42 bucks for this. It just happened to come with the meter. So yeah, there's the UL marking. Anyway, I've got a review on the FLIR too. So there's my rant, guys. why isn't Fluke doing a better job on their test leads? All right, even, you know, the price we're getting these things for, 180 bucks on sale, that still should come with a better test lead. I mean, Testo, is it because of the names these other guys have to work harder to do better? Because Fluke can just get by with our loyalty, our misguided loyalty, I think. I know I get a lot of thumbs down whenever I badmouth Fluke because people just love Fluke. It's almost like a religion. So, and then I've seen some people compare Flukes to another meter, but it's a meter that costs 3 or 4 times less, or maybe they compare it to a $20 or $30 meter. It's like, come on guys, there's meters like this Testo, like the Fleur, like the Amprobe, which Fluke owns. So hey, I'm not saying don't support the company, buy Amprobe. Don't support these overpriced meters that give you crappy test leads. I mean, I feel like I don't want to review a meter and return it, but you know, I'm feeling like if Amazon will still let me return this, I feel like returning it. That's just garbage. I kind of wanted to have that meter around to test and play with it, but I just feel like I got ripped off. What do you guys think? All right, hey, great way to start the New Year's. Happy New Year's, guys. Sorry about all this. So, hope everybody's having a great New Year's, and yeah, we're going to see we'll get over all this rant stuff about the Fluke stuff. I just wanted to get it off my chest since I started this review and it all kind of came up, and then the test leads, I'm like, am I going to keep this stupid meter? I mean, if I would have bought the Testo when it came with these, I would have returned it, you know, I think. But maybe it'll stay on my bench. I've got enough Flukes around here. I might be my last Fluke I buy, at least new. All right, guys. Anyway, enough with the rants. We're done with that. I got to get to an amplifier build, so the next video is going to be about an amplifier, okay? All right, guys. Hey, thanks to Patrons for all the support, and I've got, you know, by the way, I am going to do a review on some other test leads that are really inexpensive that you can buy at a very reasonable price. I mean, less than the Fluke not so great meter leads. So I'll show you these in a future video, but got to get back to doing some electronics. I've got my bench. Sorry about the mess on my bench. I got a project going on, which I'll show you down the road. Okay? So, all right, guys. Hey, thanks for watching. And, you know, I just think if somebody is supposed to be the top of their market, you know, they should be providing top of the market test leads. That's the gist of it. Okay? And at the price they're getting compared to other people who can do that, especially when they own, or they're owned by the same company as Pomona, why aren't we getting better test leads? And after buying these Pomona leads, Pomona needs to work on their strain relief. That's the weakest part of their leads, I think. And that Sanaprine or whatever it is that Fluke is using or Pomona is using, just go back to PVC or just stop using PVC and Sanaprine. Use silicone. Just on a final note, these leads here for 21 bucks on Amazon cost the same as that mess on Amazon, and they're both made by the same company, Fortive. Different brand names, but same company, Fortive. Why are we getting this pile of junk with a $180 or say $220 meter instead of this?